Now, Maria,
Thank you.
I know you have a very different view of the world. You also worked at the State Department. But one thing that stood out to me was the lecturing of Israel last night. You know, the president said, Netanyahu and I discussed yesterday the critical need for Israel to operate by the laws of war. I caution the government of Israel not to be blinded by rage. He never said those words to Ukraine. So why say that to Israel when they've just been attacked, babies slaughtered? Don't say that to Ukraine. You didn't need to say it to Ukraine. Why do you need to say it to Israel?
Well, just to be clear, over the past week and a half since this terrorist attack happened, Joe Biden has unequivocally supported Israel and is taking a lot of political heat among some far-left Democrats, by the way. So Joe Biden has stood by Israel over and over and over again. The only person who wants to be the next president of the United States who's criticized Israel since the attacks is Donald Trump. So let's just be very clear about where Joe Biden stands. He believes this in his bones. I think that, you know, President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu have worked together for many years, decades, really. And there are a lot of people, including the Israeli military establishment, who are saying we need to do this ground invasion the right way. We need to be very focused on what our goals are, that the end result here cannot be in the entire leveling of all of Gaza. And keep in mind, a lot of Hamas's leaders aren't in Gaza. They're in places like Qatar, which is a United States ally in many ways. So this is much more complicated of a
Marie,
picture
but why,
on the
why
ground.
do you need to admonish Israel, whose babies were burned alive?
Kayleigh, Joe Biden was not admonishing Israel. Democracies have an extra responsibility to conduct
Israel
wars.
should not be blinded by rage.
To conduct wars. Look, Joe Biden went to Israel in the midst of a hot war.
What you're saying is
Let me
democracies
finish.
have
Let me
responsibility
finish.
to lose wars.
No,
I fought
I
two
don't.
of them that we lost because we didn't want to actually fight the war. So when you're the president of the United States,
you think we should commit war crimes? You think we should? You think Israel should?
No,
right
I think
now?
there's a big difference between committing a war crime and being the president of the United States, getting one opportunity to address the country, refusing to do anything that looks like taking action against Iran, and backing that up with reiterating in stronger words than anything you said about Iran. Oh, and by the way, we need to make sure that we don't step out of line.
And Iran was not mentioned until last night.
That was completely unnecessary.
Joe Biden went to Israel in the midst of a hot war, the only president in decades to do that, to show the Israeli people that he stood by them. That does not mean that at the same time that he's getting more funding for Iron Dome and more funding for the Israeli military, that he also shouldn't be able to say there is a group of humans that are Palestinians, that are not Hamas, that are not terrorists, that someday deserve to actually have rights like real human beings. We can hold both things in our minds at the same
Maria,
time.
The difference between war crimes and what we've seen happen in Gaza is a mile
Joey,
wide.
I didn't say it was. I'm just saying that's what the president.
One moment.
You're president
here.
too, Joe.
I want to make clear too what we are talking about. I want to make clear what we're talking about here, Marie, because when we are talking about Israel and warning them about rage and warning them about abiding by the laws of war, we are acknowledging and we are equivocating what has happened. And what has happened is this. Take a look at the wall. A 9-month-old Kafir, who is in the hands of Hamas. Beside him, his brother Ariel, who is in the hands of Hamas. Beside them, Aviv and Raz, who are in the hands of Hamas. Spare me, Cheryl, the lecturing of Israel. Do not lecture Israel when Israeli children are in the hands of terrorists. Do not equivocate. Do not lecture Israel about the laws of war, which they abide by. Hamas does not.
I will say that, to Marie's point, President Biden is standing by Israel, and he has gotten a lot of pressure from the left. So I agree with you, Marie, on that. But I also do disagree with the rhetoric. He's trying to dance around those in this country that I think it's a political issue. I think he's worried about his bad polling in this country. He's seeing the protests, again, that you've spoken about that are starting in Chicago and New York City and out in San Francisco. He's worried about that because he's trying to kind of, get along with all. And I think that's a political problem for him. Well, that's what I think he is doing. And he's trying to he's trying to appease the pro-Palestine crowd out there. And I think that is a dangerous move because it sends the wrong signal to the Israelis.
And if you want to stand by Israel, don't wait to mention Iran until last night. And if you want to stand by Israel, condemn Rashida Tlaib. Your press secretary's done it. We need the president of the United States to condemn lies coming from a member of Congress that fuel the rallies we're seeing with misinformation.